Good afternoon, everyone, and probably good evening or good morning, depending on when you're listening to this now, live or recording at a later time. This is Roger Salam, your host, and today I have my two partners, Garland Davis and Chuck Bates from Kingdom First Properties, and we're going to give you an overview of the owner finance property list that I sent and how you can capitalize on this and how fast timing is of the essence, and what is the difference between this particular list and the bidding list that we get from the REO from the bank. And we went over it last month or December, but this is New Year's, so we thought we'd answer your questions again. And after we go through the procedures, at the end I will also open up for question and answers. If you have any questions, please write on the chat box, and I'll be able to look at it, your questions, and answer your question. So with that, I'd like to introduce Garland and Chuck. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Roger. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Chuck, if you can speak a little louder, so Chuck's going to be doing the initial presentation, so going over the overview and the process and the difference between what we do over here. And so with that being said, Chuck, take it over.
All right, Roger, before I get started, how's the volume now?
Yes, better.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you having us on here to go over this and clarify. We're going to go over the CFD list that Roger sent out to you a couple of days ago. This list, it's not a bid. This is different than the Auckland properties, not related really in any way whatsoever. These properties are currently owned by us. We have the deed, are awaiting to get the deed. So these properties are in our inventory, so you'll be buying directly from us right out of our inventory. You don't have to wait 21 days to find out if you get a property or anything like this. This is just good old, you want to purchase it, and we want to sell it, and buyer and seller, and we make a deal. So just want to make sure we're clear on that. The list, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it has two tabs you'll see at the bottom. One is a cash-only tab, and one is a CFD or cash list of properties. And we'll get into that in more detail during this webinar. If you find a property on there that you're interested in, you can put down a $500 refundable deposit. That way it'll keep anybody else from taking the property while you have time to do a 5 business day due diligence period. This will give you time to inspect the property, to go down to the courthouse, to do any research you need to do on the property from that perspective. And at the end of 5 days, if you haven't notified us, the property's yours, and we'll move forward with the contract. If any time during that time period you decide you don't want the property, we'll refund your money, and you can go look for another property. And this is first come, first served, so that's why we have the $500 refundable deposit, so that you can secure the property while you have a chance to do your due diligence. But we're hoping that these properties are going to create such a profit potential for all of you that they'll be moving fast. So don't wait. Act. If you see something you're interested in, I would act sooner rather than later. The cash-only list, it's extremely simple. We have our rock bottom price listed on that sheet, so there's really no negotiation. If you look at the property, you can still put the $500 deposit down. It's refundable. That gives you 5 days to look at the property, and then you pay the cash price, and the property's yours. Garland, when I'm finished speaking, Garland's going to go into the details of the process on both different ways to purchase property. So a lot of your questions that you're probably thinking right now, they're going to be covered before we're finished with the webinar. The CFD or cash properties, there's a list, and it has all the CFD properties on there. For those of you that don't know, that stands for contract for deed. And I don't want to get into a complete education on contract for deed at this point, but the basics of it are that you sign a contract that says you're going to buy this property for $200 a month for 15 years. Once you've paid the property off, then we will send you the deed. Until you've paid the property off, the deed will remain in our company's name. On the sheet, we have a 15 or 30-year financing option, and the minimum down payment is listed for a 15 or 30-year. You're welcome to put more down if you want to decrease your monthly payment. That's totally up to you, but the minimum down payment is listed. There are also a few properties on the list that are less than 15 years. These are some camping lots in Oklahoma, and they're just inexpensive properties, and so from time to time you may see properties on this list that are not the traditional or 15, 30 years. So just be flexible with us as we try to work the properties and get them to a point where you can make money and have an adequate payment to manage your business. You'll also see a column on there that is rent spread estimated. And we've done this based off of the monthly payment, whether we do the 15 or 30-year financing option. And we've used Rent-A-Meter to determine that spread. We've also listed the Zillow rent, but we just feel like Rent-A-Meter is a little bit more accurate estimation of the rent. And basically, that rent spread is going to be the profit for you after you collect the rent and make a payment on your note. On this list, we'll also accept cash offers. You'll see down there that it's on the list, it says CFD wholesale price. And, you know, that price may be $20,000. Well, if you wanted to pay cash, obviously we would take less than that amount. So you're welcome to make a cash offer. We don't have firm prices on this list like the other list. So you just make an offer. We will consider the offer and either accept or counter your offer. I'll leave that completely up to your business model, how you want to proceed. I just wanted to give you an example. I don't want to get into trying to teach a real estate program here, but I wanted to just show you an example of buying off the CFD list using financing versus paying cash. And in this case, say you were to buy 10 properties and you used a 15-year financing option. That means you would have a $2,500 down payment per property and a $2,000 buyer's premium. So your total investment would be $45,000. Your average rent, for my example, I just used $250. But if you look at the sheet, the average rent spread is really $387. So we're being extremely conservative with $250. You'll have a monthly profit of $2,500 once you get all the houses occupied. An annual profit of $30,000. That comes out to be a 67% cash-on-cash return, and you're completely paid back in 18 months if you don't reinvest that money or use it to live on and quit your job. So that's just an example of what these properties can do for you as you accumulate 1, 5, 10, 15, or 20. That rent spread really gets to be a significant amount on a monthly basis as you add more properties to your portfolio. So now let's say you took that same $45,000 and instead of investing in 10 properties using financing, let's just say you paid cash. And I'm just estimating based on what the properties are going to cost, that you'll be able to buy 2.5 properties for $45,000. I know you can't really buy half a house, but for math's sake, let's just say 2.5 properties. And I'm using a monthly rent of $500 per house. If you look on the spreadsheet, it's actually $637. So again, we're being conservative in our example. This is going to give you a monthly profit of the 2.5 houses, $1,250, annual profit $15,000, which is a 33% cash-on-cash return, and a 36-month payback. So you own the properties free and clear, but your return on cash is half, and your payback is double. I'm not going to debate which model is better. I'll leave that to your own individual business model and how you want to work it, and I'm sure Roger teaches a lot about leverage in different ways to maximize the cash you do have. But the one thing about this that's just, there's really nowhere you're going to be able to go out and find somebody that's going to be willing to, first of all, that has an inventory of houses like we do all around the country. Second, that's offering them at the prices that we are offering. And then third, that is offering financing that doesn't include, you know, a 2-point penalty, a prepayment penalty, or anything like that. There's no extra points. There's no prepayment penalties with our financing. It's just a flat interest rate. It's just like getting a mortgage from the bank. No prepayment penalty, no upfront points. You just have to qualify, and those conditions are really simple, and I'm sure Garland's going to review that in his part of the presentation. But this is an excellent opportunity. You can do it, you know, with yourself. You can bring partners in. But we will be updating this list as properties get sold and new properties come on. So I'm sure Roger will be getting those out to you on a weekly or bi-weekly basis as the list changes drastically. But I really want Garland to take over at this point and go into exactly how the process works. If you see a property, who do you call? What kind of paperwork do you need to fill out, et cetera. So, Roger, if you want to turn it over to Garland, or if you want to address any questions, I'll let you decide how you want to go at this point.
Hey, no problem. Chuck, I was wondering that, do you have the Excel spreadsheet so that they can have a visual and look at the columns? The one for the students that we send out?
Hold on one second. I just opened that. All right, I'm gonna. Okay, so for example, Roger just wants me to walk through this with you all real quick. All right.
Can you zoom out a little so we can?
Is it too big or?
Too small. It's too small.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's much better. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little, just a little bit more. Better. Now we can read it. So you can just go from the left to the right and the two tabs, first tab, second tab, and just walk us through the tabs.
Right. All right. Let's just, first of all, let's look. You've got street, city, state, zip, coming across property type, single family. Down here you'll see a condo. Here is the Zestimate, the value of the actual property. Here's the rent Zestimate, then Renometer. And as you can see, Renometer is much more conservative, pretty much on a standard basis with a few exceptions. So that's why we use Renometer. This is the retail price. We are currently trying to sell these properties to a retail buyer on our website. So if you were just to be living in Birmingham and you found this property, if you called in, your price would be $45,000, and it would be based on a 15 or 30-year loan with a much higher payment than what you're getting. Our price to you guys and ladies is $16,000, so you got a significant. It's actually $25,000. Sorry about that. You got a significant reduction on the CFD price. The cash price on that particular property was $16,000, but we haven't completely evaluated our cash prices, so don't bank on that if you're in Birmingham. The down payment. Let me scroll over a little bit. So right here you've got down payment $2,500. Your payment would be $270 a month, 180 months, 15 years, 12% interest. And the difference between Rent-A-Meter and the payment is $392. So that's the money that would be going into your pocket on a monthly basis. And then out here to the right is if you were to do a 30-year term, $5,000 down, your payment drops to $205, and your spread goes up to $456. The interest rate is still 12%. So we've got that list of all the properties, and you can see we have several states: Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, I know all you have access to this, but just for the sake of the webinar, we'll scroll down and show some of the different states that are available. Then at the bottom, you've got the cash only tab. If you click here, obviously that's too small. If you click here, it's basically the same setup, except you don't have the financing terms. So street, city, state, the property type, the Zestimate, and then the wholesale cash price. This is what we would be selling it to you for, and this is what we're selling it in a retail area. So you call in, that's the price. If you want to buy that property, it's $1,200. Not $1,100, not $1,300. Those prices are firm. In a few cases, like for here, the retail price, we've already lowered that online, trying to really sell that property. So there are a few cases where there's not much of a discount. So don't focus on those. Focus on the other properties. Or if you like that property, there's still an opportunity to make money with that property, but there's really not a savings to you students on just a few properties. I think there's 7 or 8 that are like that. Anything else on the spreadsheet, Roger?
Sorry, I just unmuted myself.
Lots of states. Yeah, there's lots of states available there as well.
And wonderful. I just wanted people, if they haven't seen it, so this is how we're going to send we're going to make it consistent as this same process so that you get used to this particular list. Very quickly go in and do your due diligence. And we have another friend of ours in Atlanta who has done some enhancement to the list, and once we have the enhancement, we can send out the enhanced list. But this is the basic list that we have for the properties and giving you on the owner finance and the cash. So as Chuck mentioned, that the owner finance properties, if you don't have to owner finance just because we're owner financing, you can make a cash offer as well. And the cash list is just cash list. And what I'd like to do is turn it over to Garland to go over the procedure. And Garland, do you want to, I'm going to make you the presenter.
Okay.
And then you can show us your screen. There you go. Now we can see your screen.
Okay, I'm trying to show, I've got dual screens. Do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, I see the PowerPoint.
Okay, great. All right, so what I'm going to do is just briefly walk you through the cash purchase process and the CFD purchase process. Mm-hmm. First of all, I'm going to put up our application in conjunction with the Winner's Circle and Buy Here, Pay Here Homes. The cash process does diverge a little bit from the CFD purchase process, so just pay a close attention to that, and I'll try to make clear the differences between the two. So first of all, both the cash purchase and the CFD purchase processes begin with the intent to purchase, at least in terms of documentation. Once you have gone over the wholesale list that Chuck and Roger just covered, you will pick your property or whatever properties you're interested in, and then you will call Buy Here, Pay Here Homes to speak with an asset manager, and our 800 number is 1-800-849-3918. And we are open from, our asset managers are in the office from 10 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Time. Our home office is in Tampa, Florida. So that's 1-800-849-3918, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Time. So once you've identified the properties that you're interested in, you'll want to call us and ask for the asset manager. And the asset manager will be able to give you most questions or details that you have regarding any of the properties that fall under their domain. If you do select a number of properties, there's a chance that you will be in touch with more than one different asset manager. So the way that we're organized as an asset manager handles each property as opposed to an asset manager working with, solely with a potential buyer. So, and that just allows our asset managers to be more informed on the properties that they're dealing with and discussing with you. So be prepared for that. Once you've reached the asset manager, they can provide you with access to the property, in most cases with a lockbox code. They can set up a time to visit the property. Most of the time they like to be on the phone and virtually walk you through the property. And especially it just allows them, because we're at a distance on most of these properties, or a lot of them, it allows them to be aware of any changes that have occurred and whatnot, and also just make sure that the property gets locked up and secured properly. So the asset manager will be able to answer questions, give you access. Once you have done so, and if you decide that you do want to move forward with the purchase of the property, let's say you're wanting to do a cash purchase, then you will submit the intent to purchase along with a $500 deposit to the asset manager. Now, this is the application, but the first page of the application is the intent to purchase. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger for you guys.
Thank you.
So page 2 of the application is the intent to purchase. This basically just cuts through the red tape and informs the asset manager that you have the intention to purchase said property, if it's cash or seller financing, and I'll just walk you through this real quick. The purpose of this document is to set forth some of the basic terms and conditions proposed by the buyer and the seller. This is a non-binding document. It just basically states, I want to buy this, and these are the terms that I want to buy it under. Please make sure that under number 1, if you are purchasing under the name of an LLC or a trust or an entity that you will be signing for, please make sure you put that in addition to your name so that we can populate the contracts properly. The property address that you're going to be purchasing, the transaction type, cash or seller financing, and then the purchase price. Now, once you have discussed the terms with the asset manager, which Chuck already told you and explained on the cash and CFD offers and the cash-only properties, if we have room to negotiate or not, the majority of them, like he said, these are the rock-bottom prices. So you'll want to populate this sheet with the terms from the wholesale list that Chuck and Roger just went over. Excuse me. So then number 5, financing. Obviously, it's not applicable if it's a cash transaction. And then if you're applying for seller financing, then go ahead and fill out the terms as they are presented under the wholesale list that you'll be receiving if you haven't already. And then finally, number 6 just states that this is non-binding. It's just expressing in good faith your intent to purchase. So this portion of the application is required whether or not you are purchasing with cash or you are applying for financing. So that is the same either way. Now this is where we'll diverge a little bit. Once you've submitted the intent to purchase to the asset manager along with the $500 deposit, it's pretty simple and straightforward from there. It's we will create a contract, a simple cash contract via right signature and send that to you for e-signing. And this is
Garland, can you hear me?
my apologies. Go ahead, Chuck.
Sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if you're moving around, but we're getting a lot of background noise.
Yeah, that's certainly not me. I don't know, Roger,
Okay.
possibly.
And I'm on mute. Okay, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, there's no one here on my side. That's why I still mute myself and I'll unmute myself again. And Chuck, if you need unmute, and I'll do the same. But
I hear a lot of typing. I hear a lot of typing. That's the main thing. Sorry about that. So BHPH Homes will provide you, the buyer, with a contract via right signature. You'll sign that via email. That's a legally binding document, so you don't have to worry about anything there. We will countersign at the same time. Once that is executed, then we will send you wire instructions to send the full payment. So if you've already submitted a $500 deposit, then the purchase price minus the $500 will be due within 24 hours. So this is, we refer to this as just a straightforward, down and dirty transaction. It's all handled in-house. You're purchasing properties. In most cases, they are quitclaim deeds, as is typical with most of the properties that we sell. And then once the funds have been received, we will provide you, the buyer, with the deed. Typically, we have those out in the mail via priority mail within 2 to 3 business days. It depends on who the supplier is. Sometimes it might take a little bit longer. So we'll send the deed to you, and the buyer is responsible for recording that deed. So the cash purchase process is very simple, pretty straightforward. And also on that application, the application is much longer, the document that I showed you prior to this. When you're purchasing with cash, all you need to worry about is that second page, the intent to purchase page. So, all right, moving along to the CFD purchase process. Everything is basically the same up to step 3. The primary difference in step 2 is that in addition to the intent to purchase, you will also need to submit an application because you are applying for financing. So let me zoom this and just kind of walk you through the remainder of this application document. This will be very familiar to, I would say, all of you. Your standard information that's required when applying for financing are on pages 3 and 4. On page 5 is an authorization to perform credit check. In 99.9% of the cases, we do not actually perform the credit check, but in the future, we do need to have that ability if required. And that's more on the administrative side. And just so you know, because a lot of folks ask, we primarily just look at your income and your ability to cover the monthly payments. So that's the most important thing, is your income and your ability to show that, which I will cover in a moment. The additional documents are required. And then you'll just need to sign the Federal Equal Credit Opportunity Act as well here. And then if you are making your deposit or down payment via a credit card, here's the sheet for that. You can do that as well. For the Winner's Circle and Rogers students, we are waiving the $100 application fee, so that's one of the benefits of going through this process. So that's step 4 that is waived. Step 3 is very important. Please make sure when you're submitting an application that you include these required documents so there's no delay in the processing of your application. We need a copy of your driver's license. If you are faxing it in, please make sure that it's on a lower light setting so that it's not too dark, because sometimes those aren't legible when coming in via fax. Provide a proof of income, W-2s, recent pay stubs, benefits award letter, etc., and then your recent credit report. And this is why we don't actually run your credit. We don't want to do anything that dings your credit or hits your credit. So we ask for you to provide us with a basic annualcreditreport.com or freecreditreport.com consumer credit report that we keep on file. But as I said, the priority and the weight goes to your income. So that is the application. Once the application has been approved, we will create a land contract or contract for deed, and along with that there will be a promissory note. You will also receive a just breakdown of a seller's disclosure, basically, that explains your full terms, what you would pay in interest over the life of the financing, etc. You will sign those. We can send those via email. We can send those via the postal service. But either way, they do have to come back via postal service because they require notarization. So you will have to get several of the pages notarized, and we do have to have those originals back to us. On our end, a common question is the time frame. How fast can we move? Once we have the approved offer, which an approved offer is anything that's already on that wholesale list, those are automatically approved prices for the Winner's Circle students, so you don't have to worry about a delay there. If your intent to purchase has those prices on there, which they should, it takes us about 24 to 48 hours to approve the application once it's reviewed, if all of your documents are in order. And then once that is approved, we can have the contract out to you within another 24 to 48 hours or 1 to 2 business days. And then really, at that point, the ball is in your court. Just depends on how long you can get that together, and the remainder of your down payment needs to be returned and submitted along with the executed contract. Once we've received that, we review it just to make sure everything is in order, and then we will provide you with permission to go ahead and take possession of the property. As Chuck stated a few minutes ago, the deed does remain in the seller's name until the terms of the land contract have been satisfied, at which point we will create the deed and provide it to you, the buyer, for recording. So that portion is very similar to the cash purchase, where we will provide the deed to you, and the buyer is responsible to record that deed. There is no prepayment penalty with our financing, so and of course we encourage the payment as quickly as possible, and of course that saves you on interest, and we appreciate that as well. So there is no prepayment penalty on additional payments for the land contract or CFD as well. So I believe that is everything right now. I will make sure that I realize that the fax, email, and mailing address are not on the application, so I will make sure that we get an updated application with the contact information so you can get that to the appropriate party. But everything will come through Buy Here, Pay Here Homes, and as always, if you would please copy or CC support at thewinnerscircleinc.com so that they know what's going on as well. Chuck, or anything to add to that, or Roger, do we want to open up to questions?
All right, I just unmuted myself.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you, Garland.
Thank you, appreciate it. And actually, what I have, let me see, guys, if you have any questions, you can start typing on the chat box, and I will will answer those questions for you. And again, this is not the end of your Q&A. This is just the beginning. And every property that you have Q&A, I will give you contact information, also who to contact if you have questions. So with that, let me take control back. I'll make myself the presenter. All right. Okay. Okay. Chuck, can you hear me?
I can. I'm here, Roger.
Okay, so somebody asked a question that how to access the second page cash only list.
Yeah, they should just click on the tab if they have Excel. Roger, if people don't have Excel, you may want to save it as a PDF for them as well.
Okay.
But there's just 2 tabs down at the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet. And we showed that earlier in the webinar, so if you might have missed that, when I pulled up the spreadsheet, I clicked on the 2 different tabs.
And okay, I think some of the students are having a little bit technical difficulty on the. I just a couple of people just emailed me on. It's not rendering, so. But I think that pretty much this is the first time also we now have a recording of the entire process, and we went through the difference between the two lists that we go every month. And another question is, Chuck, maybe both of you can answer. How often is this list comes out, and how often is it updated?
Yeah, I think I spoke to that a little bit. We'll probably update it on a weekly basis. A lot of it is going to depend on how fast we're selling properties that need to be taken off the list, and then how fast we're buying new properties and adding to the list. So as the list changes, we will send out an update. If you haven't gotten an update, that means that there's people doing their due diligence, and so the properties haven't sold yet. But I would definitely expect at least every 2 weeks you'll be getting a new list.
And there's in the previous one there were comments on some of them that some of the work was done, and so the question was that do you do work on all the properties first before you send this?
No, that's a great question. We are buying these properties from banks and mortgage companies, and we do very, very little work on any of the properties. We try to sell them just like we buy them. That gives you, or the person that you turn around and sell the property to, the opportunity to get some sweat equity. The only time we really do any work to a property is if there's a window or a leak in the roof and we want to prevent further damage. That would be the time that we work on properties. Some of these properties we buy, people were in the process of rehabbing, and they just ran out of money and they got foreclosed on. So if you saw any comments like that, that was probably the case. But we definitely are not a rehabber at all. We try to give you the opportunity to make the money on the rehab, or either let your buyer that you're going to sell the property to get an opportunity to benefit from that.
Another question was that if I want to put more money down to make my lower payment, how will I know the new payment stuff? Will you send me the payment? Yeah,
we can calculate that with a simple mortgage calculator, or you can go online. If you just Google mortgage calculator and you put in the purchase price of the house, put in your down payment, the number of years, and the interest rate, you should be able to do that. But we can definitely do that for you. When you fill out that intent to purchase and you let us know that you want to put $10,000 down, we can get right back to you with what that payment would be.
So the ideal thing would be, hey, the process would be $500 down. Basically, it's an earnest money deposit that's fully refundable. That holds the property for the buyer for 5 business days. And during that period of time, they can decide how much they want to put down, whether they want to finance for 15 or 30 years, and do the due diligence. And then if there's anything different from what we have, the numbers on the spreadsheet, they can contact us and we can give them the new numbers, correct?
Exactly.
So, and let me add to that. The asset managers on a daily basis negotiate with other buyers on the retail prices. So if there's an instance where a buyer wants to make a higher down payment and they're not necessarily negotiating the overall sales price, but they want to pay it off quicker to save money on interest or something like that, the asset managers are able to do that in real time. So it's not completely necessary for, at least for the sake of time, for the buyers to submit an intent to purchase just to inquire about how a payment might be affected or the length of the term by a higher down payment. So our asset managers are equipped to calculate different terms and different contract options as well. So just want to make sure we throw that out there. And then also on the return of the deposit, we do require that the request for a refund be made in writing. Email is fine, or a letter or fax, but that's just for our records. We want to make sure that we feel like as long as we can keep communication clear and straightforward, that's best for everybody. So we want to make sure that we do get that in writing by the 5th business day if a buyer decides not to move forward on a property and they want their deposit back.
Wonderful. And let's see. All right. I don't see any more questions. Is there any final comments that you guys want to make?
I don't have any.
No, Robbie, the only thing I want to just reiterate, this is Chuck, which I already did, is just that, and I'm sure you've told all the students this is an unbelievable opportunity. If you have any questions, I know Roger's here. We're all here to help you. So just, if you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. No question is too silly or too dumb. If you don't know the answer, then that's the time to ask the question. And we all have lots of experience in the real estate market, and we're here to help you to be successful. Roger by providing education, and us by providing inventories of property. Together, it's just a perfect win-win situation, and we are here to help your success. So please ask questions and tap into our experience to help you be successful.
All right. With that being said, wishing you happy investing and profitable investing. And there are the contact information on the screen that for any time you want to put a property under contract questions, your first person to contact would be Ken Williams. And if you cannot get Ken, then you can call either Ken Williams, then you can either call myself or Kent Davis, the two of us, and can answer your questions. All the best. And once again, thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Garland.
Thank you, Roger.